Hey guys, welcome back. Today's the day. It's the video where we're going to consolidate the information that we found out so far. But just know that all of this is for reference purposes only. I make no promises, and that all of the information that I've got is specific to my situation in my area and at my exact time of finding out this information. So you can't hold me to it. It's just a guideline. So disclaimers out the way. Let's get into it. I get asked all the time, how much does it cost? And it's hard to answer because it's quite a big varying gap. It can be as low as $19 a biweekly paycheck or as much as $382 a biweekly paycheck. So yeah, when I say it varies, it varies. The short answer is that there are 4 tiers of coverage level and 4 different providers. I have 16 options. I have a little more than that, but it's kind of like a half option. And it's going to basically mean the difference between pay more a paycheck, pay less out of pocket for your deductible, or pay more a paycheck and have less out of pocket for your deductible. Your coverage should be the same, and you should roughly receive the same amount of services, but it's just a matter of how you pay for those services. So the bronze plan can start as low as $19 and go up to $32, and that has a $3,000 out-of-pocket deductible. So you pay a little bit on your paycheck, but you pay quite a good chunk before your services kick in to be covered. Excuse me. Silver is $39 to $48. That is a $750 deductible. Gold is $91 to $173 with a $600 deductible. And platinum is $169 to $382 with a $0 deductible. So it's going to vary on your financial situation as to which one's going to be the best for you. How much does it cover? In general, each plan is going to cover about $15,000 with a $5,000 allocation to medication for a total of $20,000 for general infertility coverage. The fine points of coverage are going to vary from carrier to carrier, but they will all be within that $15,000 to $20,000 lifetime maximum. And it is a lifetime maximum. So once you run out, that's when you're done. What does it cover? It's going to cover most artificial reproductive therapies. So IVF, IUI, general stuff. It's going to cover ICSI if you need that. It's going to cover your meds, but again, I'll talk more about the meds later. And it doesn't matter what your infertility journey has been. For example, if you've been through lots of IUIs, or if you've got a number of failed IVF attempts, that's not going to inhibit your ability to receive coverage. Depending on your situation, you may need to be more specific about which coverage, more particular about which plan you choose. For example, if you're a same-sex couple and that is the reason that you need artificial reproductive therapies, I would recommend choosing a plan that has no pre-authorization required. So first of all, it's none of their business. And second of all, you won't have to have attempted a certain number of IUIs first before they will cover you for IVF, or a certain amount of stillbirths before they'll cover a surgery or testing to look into why you're having recurrent miscarriages, whatever the case be. If you do have a history of things that, so say for example, actually I don't need to go into the details of that, but if you are concerned about receiving coverage based on your particular situation, rather opt for a plan that has no pre-approval, and that is just going to be automatic coverage. That way it can give you peace. But if you are trying to balance affordability and insurance coverage, there's absolutely nothing wrong with calling the benefit advocates, and your, what do you even call it? The billing person, the financial advisor at your fertility clinic. They've dealt with all kinds of stuff, and they want to take your money, or they want to take someone's money. It doesn't have to be yours. So if they can help you get services that you wouldn't have otherwise gotten, like they're the ones to do it. They're going to help you pick a plan. Well, I would hope that they would help you pick a plan. I've got an appointment with mine next month. Once I've received my little benefits package, they're going to help me pick a plan that is going to give me my best bang for buck for my particular situation. And if that is available to you, I strongly advise taking your benefits package to them for them to do the same for you. What does it not cover? It doesn't cover anything donor. So in my example where you are a same-sex couple looking for artificial reproductive therapies, your donor sperm or your donor egg is not going to be covered, so that will be an out-of-pocket cost, but everything else related to the procedure should be. So for example, if you receive a donor egg, your what do they call it? Your transfer and your monitoring and all of that stuff will definitely be covered. It would just be a case of making sure that you have the money for a donor item. They don't cover PGS testing, so if you want pre-genetic screening for your embryo before they implant it, know that that is going to be an upfront cost for you. And I do believe that they don't cover cryo fees. So the act of freezing your eggs and the act of storing your eggs is something that should be out of pocket. So for me, at my clinic, with what the services that they use, it's going to be $600 to freeze the egg and $600 to store the egg. So that's going to be $1,200 for me. It's important to know these numbers and ask these questions ahead of time, because infertility is a rough journey, and the last thing we need is surprise bills. So that's my advice on that. Next page. What if you already have insurance? You are absolutely able to hold multiple insurances at once. My husband already has insurance that covers me, and what I've discussed with my with my financial advisor so far is that the short version is although I do have to, the insurance that's in my name does have to be my primary insurance, we can still bill my husband's insurance for other things as well. So we're going to do our best to anything that my husband's insurance will cover, we're going to bill them for that. And then we're going to bill Starbucks for anything that they won't cover, which is going to help my $15,000 go further. Because the less they have to use it for ordinary things like ultrasounds and office visits and stuff, the more that there is for things like transfers and what do they call it, egg retrieval and all that good stuff. So they're invested in making sure that my money goes as far as possible, because, you know, I obviously want IVF to work on the first try, but we're putting our hearts into it's going to take 3 tries. At my clinic, statistically, as long as you meet a few criteria like age, health of eggs, and all that sort of stuff, which we do, the chances of taking home a baby after 3 IVF cycles at my clinic is around 90%. So we're putting our hopes in 90%, and that 3 is a reasonable thing to hope for. And we're trying to make our money at my clinic go as far as it can, which at my clinic, it actually is realistic. Depending on your clinic, fees vary so much. It might not go as far, but again, this is just my situation and what I'm hoping for. So how do you become eligible? You need to work an average of 20 hours a week for 3 months before you are benefits eligible. Then you will be sent a package where you get to select your benefits, and then the following month you will have benefits. So for me, I started work on the 1st of October. I have been working more than 20 hours a week. So come January 1st, I will have had 240 hours, 240 hours banked. So I will qualify for benefits on January 1st. I will receive my package, I presume, sometime in the beginning of January. I will select my plan. I'll have a month to do so. And then starting the 1st of February, I will be able to use those benefits. So the process is about 5 months. Well, 4 months before you can use it. And then you maintain eligibility by a biannual audit. So it doesn't matter if some weeks you work less than 20 hours, some weeks you work more than 20 hours, maybe you get sick, maybe you need a leave of absence. All they want is that on an average of a 6-month period, that you average out to about 20 hours a week. And I believe that audit happens in January and in July, but don't quote me on that. Let's see what else we got here. How do you apply and get hired? Well, we live in a day and age where you have to apply for everything online. So the first thing to do is to get your application in and apply to a few different stores, because my 2 closest stores are in 2 complete different districts. So just because, so if I had have just applied to the one that's strictly closest to me, I wouldn't have actually got the job that I did, because the one district is fully staffed and the other one isn't. So it's a complicated situation. So the first thing is to put your application in, put it into as many as you're willing to go to. I'd say give it a week or 2 to see if you get a response, depending on how urgent your situation is. If you are the type of person who is outgoing enough to make a call or to go ask when the manager's there so you can go check to see, on your application or anything like that, it is a good idea. Stores can be very busy, so it's a good idea to maybe look on Google what the traffic for that area is that time of day. Like, they do that if you just do a Google search of like Starbucks, whatever the address is. They should have a nice graph of the busy times, and maybe try to go there during a not busy time to speak to a manager or call ahead. Those are always good things. But how I actually ended up getting hired is I actually like Starbucks. So I was going to get Starbucks, and I noticed on the door of the store that I went to, there was a hiring event. It was like open interviews, and I took down the number and I went to the open interview, and that was how I found out that I had actually been applying. The store that I had been applying to wasn't part of this district, and this particular district needed a lot more hires. So that gave me a lot more opportunity than I was strictly applying for. And they liked me. The most important thing I think that I had was relatively open availability. That's not to say that if you don't have open availability, you won't get the job, but I would say err on the side of being open in the beginning and changing your availability later if it doesn't work, like if you're feeling too pressured. Because I know for a fact, I've heard my manager say on multiple occasions that they have like 12 resumes sitting in their inbox, but they don't want to work. They can't work enough for it to be worth training them, to have them on the floor and stuff like that. So put in as many hours as you can on your availability sheet. That will make you more appealing to be hired. The rest is just try to interview well. Once you get that interview, and be persistent. If there are only specific stores that you can go to, just keep reminding them that you're available, asking them what they need, where can you step up, that sort of stuff. Like, it's a very personable environment. Every single person that I know that works in the Starbucks industry is open to that kind of forwardness. You don't have to worry that you are inconveniencing them, because working at Starbucks, like, you're inconvenienced all the time. Like, there's not enough space, there's too many people, like, it is an inconvenience. So they're used to it. So don't worry, you're okay, they won't hate you. And even if they seem snippy or whatever, it's probably just because the day's crap, because there are lots of days that are crap. All right, next one. How much do I make? I make a little over minimum wage for my area, which is, there's nothing wrong with minimum wage jobs, but cards on the table, for as much work as it is, it's definitely not enough. So for me, the plan that I'm planning on choosing and my paycheck, benefits are going to cost about half my bi-weekly paycheck. So if that helps you plan whether or not that's going to be a good fit. My store is a 24-hour store, so I have a lot of options for availability. So for example, for me, I can open and still be back before my youngest gets home from school, which is my requirements. And I can still already have worked a 6.5-hour shift, which is great. because, my store needs the coverage. And, it's easy for me to get my hours. And if it's not easy for you to get your hours in your store, don't panic, because you can come a little bit early, you can stay a little bit late. There are lots of shifts to pick up. If people call off, you can get that shift. You can work shifts in other stores. A lot of people that I've seen working at Starbucks specifically for benefits panic if their store can't immediately provide them with the hours that they need. It is also important and worth mentioning that you are applying to Starbucks for the benefits. You don't have to say that is for IVF or anything personal that you don't want to say. It is a good idea to tell them, because that gives them the expectation that you need to qualify. So they will try their best to schedule you 20 hours. And they'll know that that's a priority to you. And I have heard from various managers that's actually a good thing. They want to hire people who have incentive to be there and to show up, because the nature of the industry, there are a lot of young people working there who are not as reliable, who are not as invested, who don't have bills to pay and things like that. So they do call off, and such is life. But that's good news for us, because that means we get hours and we can be prioritized for that sort of stuff. So I know I'm new, and my manager already counts on me and knows that pretty much no matter what, like, I'm going to be there, which is a good feeling for both of you. So there's that. What are some of the limitations? Let's see. Some of the limitations are the $5,000 in medication. It's hard to describe, but from the information that I found out, the medication protocol that you may or may not be on can get out of hand quickly. And because what they charge insurance and what they charge out of pocket, it is very easy for one medication to take up all your $5,000, and then you're left to out of pocket like everything else. Or if your plan has the $5,000 built in, so maybe your plan covers $20,000 and they don't specify a $5,000 medication limit, like, it could happen that your entire $20,000 for IVF goes straight to medication, and then you're responsible for everything else. So how to get around that? Well, the advice that I've been given is to find the most expensive drug that you need and to pay for that out of pocket with something called compassionate care. The short version is that compassionate care is specifically designed to subsidize fertility treatment medication based on a pay scale. And, if you're working at Starbucks, chances are maybe you don't earn that much, or if you need help with your IVF treatments, you probably qualify for some kind. We're not doing badly. But we can't afford IVF on our own. It's we do well, we save, but because we make these choices with our finances, we don't have the tens of thousands that it's going to cost us because of where our money goes. So even us, we qualify for a 25% discount, which does make a big difference when, like, one vial of a drug can be $1,200. So apply for compassionate care, shop around for your medications. Just because your clinic uses one particular pharmacy or your insurance requires you to use one specific specialty pharmacy, if you're paying for any of your medications out of pocket, you can get them from anywhere. Your clinic will send your prescription wherever it needs to go. So I'm working on a list of IVF medication providers and, kind of like what they cost for different things. And when I have that information, I will absolutely do a video on it. But the short answer to the medication is research. Do a lot of research to figure out what's going to be the best fit for your plan. And also knowing ahead of time, like, if you can get a rough idea from your doctor what the planned protocol will be for your medication before you have to sign up for your benefits, that would be best. Obviously, it's everything subject to change and how you respond to the medication, but at least if you can ballpark what you're looking at, you can make the most educated decision when it comes to choosing your plan. And on that topic, you are allowed to, within 30 days of choosing your plan, switch. So that is nice. So if you feel like you've made a terrible decision, you have 30 days to kind of like have take backsies. Let's see. As mentioned, anything donor is not covered, so that is an out-of-pocket expense. Yeah, another limitation is going to be the fact that not everybody's as lucky as me that Starbucks is like my only out-of-the-home job. If you are juggling multiple jobs like that, that's going to be hard. Like availability and keeping your sanity and still wanting time off and balancing all that. Like, it's hard. I guess the way around that for me is to start with maybe more than you think you can handle. Get to know the job, work as hard as you can. It does get easier. So I panicked for like a solid 6 to 7 weeks, like thinking there's no way I'm going to be able to do this. Like, no way. I think I was even in tears one day. Like, there's so much to remember. My store is so busy, so it's like hard work all the time. But it's gotten easier, so just know that like it doesn't matter how bad it is in the beginning, it does get better. And that if it still feels like it's too much, you can change your availability. If you feel like your manager requires too much of you, you can transfer. There are lots of great options for you. So, the only thing that I think we, as people going through IVF, well, infertility in general, we regret are the things we don't do. So just give it a try, see what you can do, know your limits, and we'll get there in the end. Lifetime maximum, that is a limitation. What if you have a clinic that is substantially more costly than mine and 15,000 barely gets you one IVF cycle and it fails? What do you do then? I mean, it's hard. So in that situation, I would encourage you not to give up. First of all, see what your options are at your clinic. See if there's anything like maybe you have eggs saved that are frozen that you can do a transfer, and transfers alone are usually much more cost effective than the whole stimulation and retrieval cycle. So you never know. It's worth a shot. And then the lifetime isn't necessarily a lifetime for any carrier at Starbucks. If you can continue to maintain 20 hours long enough for the open enrollment to come around, and that'll vary depending on your area, but I believe it's October. So if you can work at Starbucks long enough for open enrollment to come around when you can change your benefits, if you change insurance carriers, not levels, so like if you stay with, let's call it IVF insurance A versus IVF insurance B, maybe you were with IVF insurance A and you change from platinum to gold, that's not going to change your lifetime out of pocket. But if you change from IVF insurance A to IVF insurance B, you have a new lifetime maximum. So you do still have the option. It just is a little bit longer than you probably would have dreamed. But that's something to think about. Let's see. Getting and staying eligible for hours. I mean, sometimes things happen that are not in our control. Like maybe the store is overstaffed, or maybe, there are just all kinds of reasons why you wouldn't be getting 20 hours a week. And just because you got 20 hours a week during a certain period of time doesn't mean that maybe things go differently in the store and all of a sudden they don't have the hours for a year, or you get a bunch of new hires, all kinds of good stuff. That can be a stress and it can be a worry because, everything as an infertile person, everything we do like relies on this. Like this, for me at least, is the only way I can afford anything like this. So if I wasn't, I'm exhausted, but happy to be getting more hours than I need, because I definitely know that I can at least have the option to get the benefits. So that is definitely a limitation there where you feel like your hours are out of your hands. My advice there is you should fill out a form that will have your availability and your minimum and your maximum hours, and then that gets approved. And if they're giving you under your minimum hours, you can keep bringing it up. As mentioned before, you can cover shifts at your store. You can cover shifts at other stores. So it's a great way to pick up hours. If you are just short of 20 hours, you can come in a little bit early, leave a little bit late. And then if all else fails, you can transfer. Starbucks really does seem to have a lot of opportunities, and just know that just because it's hard and it's stressful doesn't mean that it's over, which really sums up my Starbucks experience. There have been a lot of ups and downs. I have cried, not because the job is bad, but just because I don't know what I expected, but it was an adjustment period for sure. And just when it's hard, it's not hard forever. And when we get that positive pregnancy test, everything's going to feel worth it. So keep on keeping on. I hope that answers a lot of your questions. I hope I didn't miss anything out. If I did, please hit me up in the comments and I'll do my best to answer that. And as I keep getting more information, I'll keep you guys posted. Like I said, I should be getting my benefits package in the mail next month. So, like 2-3 weeks, which is insane. And tomorrow night, I have like a weird IVF meeting support group thing that my clinic is like mandatory about. So yeah, we got some things coming up. I'll keep you guys posted how it's going. And if I find anything else, of course, I'll let you guys know. So keep cozy because it's winter here in Ohio. And I will see you guys soon. Bye.